I'm great, thanks. Really looking forward to chatting with you.
I'm thoroughly excited about this conversation we're about to have. Just simply through my exposure I've had through being a avid book reader of your book and sharing that with my family and better understanding them through human design. But before we get into human design, I would love the listeners, or you bring up to speed the listeners in terms of your backstory and how you've arrived at what you're doing today.
Yeah, cool. So my backstory is quite a long one, so I will try and give you the edited version. Um, Basically, like so many people in my 20s, in my late 20s, I was at the time I was in an successful advertising career. I kind of started off life in a way that I thought I should start off life. However, my reality was one of depression and panic disorder. And when I went to get help, I was diagnosed when I was diagnosed, I was actually given this advice that I would not be able to heal from depression and panic disorder, but I'd have to learn to manage these things over my lifetime. Now, a lot of people look at me these days and go, "Whoa, someone said that to you?" And I am just about to turn 50, so it was quite a while ago. A lot has changed. But yeah, back then we weren't given hope. We were just kind of told, "You'll learn to manage it." And for me, that was a time in my life where I'd considered taking my own life for many years. Um, to live with this, any form of that mental health, was not an option for me. And I know this is just my story, it's very different for everybody. And I also knew that, and I kept saying to the psychologist, I'm like, but if you could tell me how I got here, then I'm pretty sure I can get out of it. And he was like, no, Emma, that's not how it works. And I'm like, well, yeah, it is. And thank God there was a part of me that was choosing not to listen to the leading freaking specialist in Melbourne at the time, um, and instead listening to myself. And that was the catalyst for me to go on a really long journey to understand, as I said, how I got there. I started to understand the brain, neuroscience. I wanted to understand why we did what we did. So I got dived super deep into human behavior, psychology, things like that. Um, then led me on to things like quantum physics and really understanding that all of this science, all of these methodologies that we have are completely supported in the spiritual world as well through spiritual methodologies. Like everyone's saying the same thing. It's just that we've been taught to see the world in silos, like in expertise, instead of understanding that everyone's really saying the same thing just through a different frame. So I went down this journey, and basically what happened was I healed my mental health, um, and I've never gone back there. I transitioned out of the advertising industry and went back to study to become a master coach. So I spent 3 years studying. I had two amazing children. My husband and I kind of, you know, improved that our relationship. We moved from regional Victoria to Sydney. I had this beautiful little business that was growing really quickly. These two great kids. I was juggling everything like so many women do. And in 2018, I kind of got to a point where I was like, well, shouldn't I feel better than this? Because I've had so much change. I've had so much healing. Life is 1,000 times better. But I still felt like I had this hole. There was like this gap. And for me, the way I language it is that it was like I knew I was heading in the right direction, but I didn't have the clarity of my purpose. And that hole would be something that would distract me almost from everyday life because I was so determined to know what that was. So in 2018, I went off and I walked a pilgrimage. I walked 800 kilometers on the Camino de Santiago in Spain, and all to find my purpose. And by the end of the Camino, I'd learned so much about myself, but I still felt like there was a small but important piece missing. And so I put it out to the universe. Okay, you need to be so obvious, like smack me in the face with what it is, and I promise I'll do it. So I get back from the Camino, and within 48 hours, all I hear, like I get emails, friends ask me all about human design. Now, back then, no one knew what human design was. No one was talking about human design. And I'd actually come across it 2 times already, but I'd put it down being like, it's a bit too woo woo, a bit too esoteric for me. And This time I'd made a commitment to the universe. I'm like, all right, I'll do it. I'll run my experiment. And with that, I literally found the leading human design expert in Australia, and she lived 10 minutes away from me. And the next day, I'm sitting having coffee with her, and she is literally reading my human design. And I'm like, you are freaking me out because you don't know me, but you know me better than most people know me. So that was like the birth of, okay, I've got to really understand what this thing is. And at that point, I knew that I had to find the courage to actually take it to my clients. And at that time, I worked in corporate. I worked with the C-suite. Like I'm talking, that classic white male, in a very fast-paced, dominant corporate environment. And I'm like, could you tell me your birth time, please? And I was really afraid that they wouldn't take this modality on. But the truth was that because we'd already built so much trust in the relationships I had with my clients, not only did they take it on, but we were blown away at how quickly we could take their already great results from the coaching work and turn them into extraordinary results in a really short period of time, just because I knew my client and my client knew themselves better than they'd ever known before. So, yeah, then human design kind of led me. I just followed my design, my strategy, my authority, my internal desire for adventure and impact, my natural ability to use my voice to have an impact, and really understanding my design. And from that point, built a very successful business and life just by being my most authentic version of me and doing my purpose.
Wow, what a story. It was really enthralling, and no doubt the listeners are very intrigued. And probably at this point, I'm thinking the best thing to ask you is, what is human design? Because I can imagine, if you haven't come across it, then you're thinking, what's she talking about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the way I love to talk about human design, because sometimes it can really get pigeonholed into the more esoteric and spiritual world. And the way I like to think of it, because my experience and my work is in behavioral coaching and performance coaching, so really understanding how we change the brain to change our behavior. We use tools like disc profiling, Enneagram, or Myers Briggs, like a lot of these things that we know really well. Now, human design is really similar to that, except there's one real fundamental difference, which really makes the biggest difference in the end. And that is that when we use these behavioral and personality profiling tools, we answer questions. Okay. So we answer, and in some cases, a ton of questions to get this outcome. Like for example, in disc profiling, I am an IS. Okay. So I answered so many questions to get to that point to understand those things about my personality and my behavior. Now, with human design, we actually take a reading from the moment that you're born, okay? And this reading is actually a reading that is is telling you about these subatomic particles called neutrinos. Now, neutrinos, if you want to go look them up, go look them up. There's a huge facility in Japan that they're spending millions of dollars on researching these things and how much neutrinos actually influence us. But basically, the neutrinos, they imprint you at the time of birth. And when we take that reading, we get sort of a similar output as we would from the Enneagram or from Myers-Briggs or any of these other things. The difference is human design is your energetic blueprint, okay? So your energetic blueprint sits at the base. I love to think of it like you are born with an original frequency. Our frequency is how we create our reality because we live in a quantum reality, meaning that, we think that our world is just like it just happens that way, or it's happenstance, or that my life is happening to me. But in fact, it's not true at all. It's happening through us because we live in a vibrational universe. It means that what we feel is what we create. So we have this frequency. We're born with this original frequency. This is our human design, and then that actually influences our behavior, our personality. And the piece that I've really discovered that's important, that sits in between this imprint, this blueprint that we're born with, the original frequency, and how we express that, is our self-worth. So if we have good high self-worth, then we're going to be expressing all of our highest potentials, all of the possibility that lives within us. But the lower our self-worth is in any area of our life, the more we're going to be expressing our shadows or our fears or our conditioning. And our conditioning is this part of us that is who we've been taught we need to be as a child to receive love, nurturing, and to belong. So we actually like wear a mask. We try to be something that we're not because that's who we needed to be as a child to actually get the love we needed. So, on that, the next step with human design to make it really simple for you. So, we've got this blueprint, right? But what is actually creating this blueprint? It's actually four ancient wisdoms synthesized together. So, we've got the Western astrology, which is actually the oldest science on the planet. And yes, it is a science. People have really put it in this category where it's a bit woo. It really is the oldest science we have. Then we have the Hindu chakra system, which talks about the energy centers in the body. Then we have the Chinese I Ching, which is the 64 ways in which a human can change. This is also the I Ching's been mapped back to our human codon. So again, we can see how, as much as these are ancient wisdoms, we are now proving them with modern science. And then we have the Kabbalah tree of life, which is all about how energy moves through our energy body. Now, these four wisdoms have actually been mathematically mapped together. And this actually happened over an 8-day period. And to be honest, like I really believe in humans. I think we're amazing, but I don't think that one human brain actually did that in 8 days. I do believe that something bigger than him channeled this information through to be able to use this incredible tool that we now call human design. So it will give you basically um, everything from the macro, like really understanding how you operate in the world, how people experience you, what you do and don't have energy for, how your energy is actually designed to be in the world, what takes energy, what gives you energy, right down to the really micro pieces of understanding your specific themes of the way, let's say, you walk through life, or the way, what your specific purpose is, or the thing that makes you radiate in the world, or the thing that motivates you, or the environment that you best are suited in. We can get super deep into all of the micro. So, simply put, it's kind of like your own user manual.
Yeah, wow. And I could, it's so much to digest, and
It's a lot.
yeah, it is, it is, but very impacting because certainly my lived experience through understanding my profile type and thinking, oh, it sums me up so well, and this is something I can't articulate this so well. I need to actually let people know about my human design archetype. Is it
Type. So your
type?
type is a
Type, yeah.
manifestor. Yep.
Yes, yeah. And then they'll better understand because throughout my life, I've always had trouble fitting in, right? I just couldn't at school, high school, university, work, everywhere. I just don't fit in. And these other disc profiling things trying to put you into this box. And as you said, there's so many questions, and depending on the time of the day you answer those questions, you can come up with different answers, right? It's
Yeah.
sort of, yeah.
Yep. My Myers Briggs changes every time I do it from
Yeah.
introvert to extrovert. It's hilarious.
Absolutely. So, and that's I'm very similar to you because I'm on the border of introvert and extrovert, and depending on the time of day or whatever, I'm going to lean more one way or the other. But the manifester, to me, thought, this really explains who I am. I need to share it with my wife. I need help her understand me better because she can't work out why I just don't fit in. I never like it as much as she tries to think, is there something wrong with you? Or, like I'm thinking, no, it's just me, but I can't explain it. Anyway, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's been really helpful for me to even share with my children as to I'm not cold or anything like that. I'm just different.
Yeah. And like as a manifester, you're not meant to fit in. Like you are the type that, and we have 5 types in human design, and the manifester is here to inspire people into action. They are here to be unapologetically themselves. They are here to equally piss people off as they are to inspire people because they're on the planet to inspire very specific people. So they're not here to waste their time with people that aren't their people. And these are like manifestors They need a lot of freedom because, once that creative urge is on, once they're like, they literally can feel themselves light up inside and go, I need to put this stuff into action. It's coming through me. It has to happen now. Um, and these people that are the people that start the movement, start the thinking, start the project. And they don't necessarily have the energy to finish the project. And a lot of manifestors will really beat themselves up for that. But what they need to learn to do is to delegate. They need to learn to build a support team around them because they're all about initiating and inspiring others into action. And yeah, like in relationships, if you're in a relationship with a manifester or a manifesting generator, you need to understand that this person needs freedom. They need to have the freedom to, run their own race, to be their own person. They also need to be informed and to inform. So that means like, and manifestors and manifesting generators, they don't like to inform other people because most of them think if I tell people what I'm doing, they're going to stop me. And it's actually not the truth. They have to get into this habit of just saying, like, I'm going to go do this thing, or I'm interested in this. I'm going to spend 2 hours over here. And the more that they can learn to inform, the more people will leave them be and they won't interrupt that correct creative flow. And they need to be informed. Like if you want to see someone get angry, that is like a manifester or a manifesting generator that has not been informed. Like just tell me what you're doing or just tell me where you're going. Just give me the information and I'm sweet. But if you don't, it's going to piss me off.
That's- so
Resonate?
yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. You summed me up, and I'm just thinking that it's been the story of my life. I've been that person that even in corporate actually, that where I didn't. I just did, and then I thought I'd plead for forgiveness afterwards
Yep.
because it just felt right, and I thought, if I do share this, they're going to stop me, and it's
Yep.
like, and then I'm thinking, there's better tussle with Life 360, and like my wife likes to know where I am and all this, and I don't want to be on it. And my mum gave me the freedom when I was young just to roam and go anywhere, and
Yeah.
I just had to let her know what time I'd be, this place and this time, and I used to do that, and that worked well for me. And anything in between, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
So whereas my wife very much, out of her way of giving love is knowing
Mm,
where I am, and
mm.
but I don't want to be tracked. I can't handle the
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah. And that's the thing with manifestors. Like, it's not that they're trying to be devious. It's not that they're trying to, they don't want you to know. It's the way they're programmed. And it's really cool. I love your story about being a kid because Ra, who actually brought all this information in, who was also a manifester, like literally he initiated the planet with human design. And then those of us who are generators and manifested generators are building it. We're building human design. And then the other types are doing their part with it as well. But he actually tells us he has this like flippant comment he made once at a presentation where he said, "Oh, just give a manifested child a mobile phone, then let them go. They'll be fine," because they're very independent. They can work it out, and so often, like you're one of the lucky ones, because so often as children, their capability, their independence, their kind of innate confidence in themselves that gets squashed. That gets they get in trouble. They get put through military school. That like people try to control this power that sits in them. So then they grow up into adults that they're just making themselves really small, and they turn into people pleasers. And like these are the people that are out there like breaking a new path. So they need to be able to have that freedom and know the power that lies within them to that they are here to initiate the rest of us into action.
Just thinking of the comment my mother made to the teachers at school was, give him responsibility and he'll thrive. Whereas they weren't willing to give me responsibility because I wasn't a good example. I was such a
Yeah.
rebel. It was
Yeah.
like,
Well, I love that because, I think both my kids are manifesting generators and I've really raised them with this freedom and this because a manifesting generator as well. So I know what it's like. And both of them go to Steiner now. And one of the first things that my eldest said was like, oh, thank God, mom, the teachers actually talk to you as a peer and as an equal, not as though you're a child. And let's be honest, I'm more mature than most of my teachers. I'm like, yeah, this is true. So yeah, I totally get that. School is really not designed for manifestors. It's not designed for projectors or reflectors either. It's the manifesting generators and the generators that can, kind of make the most out of school. And that's a very generalized macro view. Again, my eldest son, I'm dyslexic, and I'm pretty confident that my eldest son is, but me being diagnosed was actually very unresourceful for me. So I never had him diagnosed. I instead taught him how to learn the way he's designed to learn. And this is even before his human design. But once I had his human design, I just literally helped him trust himself and really experiment with how he learns best. And, like he literally went from a D student to an A and B student, intrinsically motivated, all the things, because he could do it his own way instead of having to conform to the way the school system was making him learn. And ultimately, this is what I want for all of our kids. I mean, we shouldn't be telling our children who they are. We should be listening for them to tell us who they are.
Wow. So the listeners are probably really intrigued at this stage and wondering who they are. So
Yeah.
maybe let's go through, we've spoken a lot about manifestors. You mentioned there's projectors, there's reflectors. Let's go through just briefly the archetypes. Yeah.
Sure. So if you don't know your human design already, you can just go to my website, which is emmadunwoody.com, put your details in, get your free chart. If you do know your human design already and you have your chart, I still recommend that you do that, because when you get your chart with us, we're actually going to send you emails that send you to actual episodes that are going to say, okay, this is your type, or this is your authority, or this is your, to really help you integrate your design. Because it's all well and good to know this knowledge, but you have to live it every day. So let's say you just went and got your chart. So now you've got it in front of you. The first thing you're going to look for is type. And we have 5 types. Well, technically we have 4 types and 1 hybrid. So first and foremost is the manifestor. As I've said, they're here to basically inspire us into action. These are the people that are the way showers. They're the initiators. They're the ones that start the movement. It's really interesting. Even with my business, I was on a call with a manifestor, and I had a problem I didn't even know I had until I spoke to her. And she just gave me all of these ideas on something. And I'm like, oh my God, I just got initiated. Like, this is exactly what I was looking for without even knowing I was looking for it. So this is what the manifestor does. So when a manifestor initiates you, you will feel like yes, or you will feel like, not my person. And if it's not your person, that's cool. Like, not your manifestor. There'll be another one out there. Then we have the generator. And the generator, once they are inspired and they learn to follow what lights them up. Okay, so Oprah Winfrey is a generator. So what did she do? She just built what lit her up. Everything that she wanted to know, what she wanted to experience, she wanted to share that with the world. So she built an entire empire helping people with the things that she loved, that lit her up. So generators are here to respond to life. They don't initiate. Manifestors are the only ones that initiate. And how do they know what to respond to? Well, their gut's going to tell them, oh my God, I've got energy for this. I so want to follow this. Or I do not have energy for this. I do not want to follow that. So it's very much about focusing on this life force energy, this passion, this energy that wants to build or not to. And generators are the people, especially when they're lit up, they feel great to be around. They just feel really good to be around. They're really magnetic, very like almost, they feel attractive to be around. Then we have the manifesting generators. So the manifesting generators are part manifestor, part generator. They're here to respond to life too. They can't initiate, but they also have to inform in their way through life and be informed. These are people who are here to demonstrate human potential. So they also want a lot of scope, a lot of freedom. We kind of move through life. I'm a manifesting generator. We kind of move through life trying to find the hacks. Like, what's the fastest way? What's the step I can skip? How do I get there quicker? Because they have all this energy, but they also have this natural ability just to skip over stuff and make things look easy to those outside of them. The other thing about manifesting generators is they're non-linear. So, and this is one of the first things that kind of set me free. They're multi-passionate, and there'll be people that might have a bunch of different careers, a bunch of different jobs, a bunch of different, things that they love. But society tells them, hey, you got to pick one and follow it. And I'm here to tell you that that's BS. That's not true for a manifesting generator. I mean, I've had a very successful advertising career. I've been a chef. I've run an equestrian property. I've had, 2 different businesses. I'm a podcaster. I'm an author. So as MGs, we do a bunch of different things, but then at some point, those things will come together. They all serve each other. Then we have projectors. So if our manifestors have initiated us and they're all about starting stuff, and our generators and manifesting generators are building the things that light them up, then we have projectors. Projectors are the people who they see into the other really deeply. So they can see into the thing that we're building, or the thing that you've started, and they can say, okay, this is great. However, what if you do more of this or less of that? So they can really refine with their wisdom. Okay, so they're people that they can see a lot of efficiencies. They can see what is not working and what is working. They can really see where energy is being used resourcefully and where it's being used unresourcefully. And this can kind of be in any area. Now, the trick with being a projector is you're a super wise human that is on the planet to be seen and recognized for that wisdom. However, most projectors have never been taught that how to actually get that resourceful attention. So they try and force you to see their wisdom and force you to recognize them. But they're actually here to wait for an invitation. And an invitation is literally someone saying to them, or an opportunity arising, or a situation or serendipity arising that invites their wisdom in. So they have to allow people to come to them instead of trying to force people to see them. Otherwise, they're going to feel super bitter. They're going to feel frustrated. They're going to be like, no one ever listens to me. And it's just because they are trying too hard to be seen instead of spending time on their own self-worth and developing their own wisdom. Because when they do that, then people will absolutely see them and invite them in. And then the last group, which is the smallest group, it's only 1% of the global population. They are our reflectors. So our manifestors initiate, inspire, our generators, manifesting generators build, our projectors refine, then our reflectors show us the truth. So reflectors actually show us where we're really at. Now, that could be in one relationship, that could be in a family, that could be in a friendship, that could be in a town, that could be in a city, a country, whatever. But they are reflecting back the truth of where something or someone is at. So reflectors really are these people that are giving us the truth of, like, the barometer of what's really going on. So often if you have a reflector in your life and you think, oh my God, they're epic, I love them, it's probably a reflection of you. If you think they're irritating or annoying, again, it's probably a reflection of you. So as reflectors, it's really important for them because they move and shift and change depending on who they're around. So they're people who their whole life needs to be slow, as in take their time to make decisions, take their time to really know how someone or something makes them feel. Because ultimately they are incredible at being able to access the potential of all energy. It's crazy to see them at work.
Wow. So much, you got so much to share, and you share it so articulately, the way
Thanks.
you articulate each and every type, and so quickly and concise. So I really appreciate you coming on, Emma, and sharing such great insights on human design. Now, you've already shared that are they listeners best to connect with you via the emmadunwoody.com? Is that?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
probably the best place, the easiest way to find all the resources we have. We have so many free resources. And then if you want to play along, we've got really, beautiful, low end, accessible ways to work with me. But also, right now, I'm running a mastermind, which is my high end product as well, which is so much fun. So, plenty of ways.
Wow, fantastic. So yeah, so just the listeners jump on the website, find out your type, and then go along for the journey. As Emma said, you find out more about your type through her podcast and her book. And so there's, I guess the starting point is the website. So thoroughly recommend that because it's really helped me on my journey in terms of helping me articulate who I am because I can't do it.
Well, and I think that's the thing. Like, one of the things I say all the time about human design is, like, it's not going to tell you anything you don't know. I don't have people go, oh my God, that's a real surprise. What I hear all the time is, thank you. Thank you for giving me permission to be me. And I know for me personally, it gave me the language to what I felt on the inside. And to me, I think that's the most powerful piece because we have to learn to love, trust, and accept ourselves. We are the most powerful when we are our authentic self, and our human design gives us the treasure map to that.
I totally 100% agree. And I must, say when I've accepted, that self-worth thing was something I struggled with growing up. And once I accepted who I was and really embraced who I was and, just, I guess displayed who I am, then that's when things started to happen for me. And yeah, I really started to flourish and
Yeah.
thrive, so to speak. So, thank you, Emma, for coming on and sharing your wisdom. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in to another insightful episode of Me and My Health Up. Please share it with others that may be floundering or a little lost or lacking a bit of self worth or just wanting to confirmation to say this is them, and maybe a way of sharing it with others to communicate with them as to who they are authentically. So thank you, Emma, and thank you, listeners.
Thank you.